Hi, I'm Judy Cole, the Executive Vice President and CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this web production of the MIT Alumni Association.
Good morning. There you go. That's the kind of energy we want. Better than the chocolate that I was trying to sneak in before this session. These are very interesting times for education, and I'm delighted to have all of you here to listen to some of the very, very interesting work that's going on at MIT. These are times of great change for education, change that, as we heard President Rife refer to, necessary for a better world, both in terms of access and quality. Not surprisingly, MIT is launched a very significant educational change agenda, and you're going to hear some amount of some of the initiatives that speak to that agenda. It's a significant effort that's been launched in some sense to recognize, for instance, the increasing centrality of digital learning, to recognize contemporary research and science in the domains, in brain science and cognitive science, the impact of open and how they might influence how we think about teaching and learning, how we think about quality education, how we think about better access to quality education around the world, which is, after all, the kinds of things that MIT has been doing for as long as I have known about the place. Just to give you a sense of some of the kinds of initiatives, some months ago, the MicroMasters program was launched. This is a very innovative program which really turns the admissions process, or at least tries to turn invert the admissions process. It looks, this is a set of MIT X courses. By the way, I assume that all have heard about MIT X, the online courses, the blended programs that MIT has launched. And the MicroMasters program offers courses, professional courses, for learners around the world, and a small set of them who go through the typical hard hurdles that are presented in MIT courses become eligible for coming and doing a semester over here to get a master's degree. The first one in supply chain was launched some months ago. There is another significant initiative called Mightily, the Integrated Learning Initiative, MIT's Integrated Learning Initiative, which looks at how you might bring in cognitive science, how you might think about behavioral, research in these areas, and how you try to understand their influence on teaching and learning, and how they might actually be translated into the practice of good teaching and learning. So this is a very significant initiative, and it looks at the fact that tomorrow's educators, tomorrow's learners are going to be significantly impacted by digital technologies, by data science, by new learning in brain sciences and cognitive sciences. We have, working with K through 12, working with pre-college education is not new. There are upwards of 120 programs which in one form or the other touch the K through 12 environment, but in recent months, MIT has taken a very acute look at K through 12 education to think about what it might do, and a very potent K through 12 action group has been launched, which is really thinking about how do we bring the best of MIT education, the practices that we hold dear, and influence K through 12 education positively. An initiative that I'm quite personally familiar with, where we are working with 1,100 schools in underserved areas in India, using edX, using educational technologies to see how we might improve education in science, engineering, and mathematics. This is going to be impact, and these 1,100 schools is just a pilot study. This is in 4 states in India, and this is the kind of initiatives that we are beginning to think about at MIT, where we say, how can we bring the best of our faculty, our students, the way we think, and try to really work in areas which are really in dire need of very high quality, good education. So these are just a glimpse of the kinds of things that are going on. And I must tell you, the impetus to this, the background to this was in large measure through the task force on the future of higher education that was launched, that President Rife made reference to. In fact, Karen Wilcox over here was one of the co-chairs of this task force. and along with Professor Sanjay Sharma and Israel Ruiz. And the task force was really in response to a question, which is, how does a university think about its future? How does it think about transforming itself from where it is now to one that is impacted by all these forces that we talked about, digital technologies, digital learning, things like edX, open education, new learning, contemporary learning sciences? How does it think about it, and how does it think about it systemically to understand the implications for residential education, to understand the implications of global education and global writ large? As in, how do these forces change MIT's relationship with sectors that it traditionally doesn't interact with much, the K-12 environment, community colleges, other countries. And then sort of to understand, look, this is really has implications for changing the economy and the ecology of education. What does it mean for business models? How do we think about spaces, resources that go into the production and distribution of educational opportunity? So this was a significant effort that was launched. And there were all kinds of recommendations. I'm just pointing to a few over there about catalyzing research in learning and innovation, a recommendation which says and extend our pedagogical innovation to the world, a recommendation which says think about a K-12 strategy, and the last recommendation, which is about think about new opportunities for engagement between the MIT community and the world. My illustrious panel over here is going to address many of these items through the initiatives that they're personally involved in, that they're leading and championing. And I'm going to ask them to speak in the order that they're sitting, to share some of their engagement, some of the ideas, and you will see how the initiatives that they're engaged in really illuminate some of the recommendations and some of the potent possibilities for educational change through MIT for the world. So first, Karen.
Thanks again for joining us. For more information on future MIT Alumni Association productions, please visit our website.